Welcome back to the first ever edition of the Dominical Dollar-Bin Dive. This is the show wherein we open the cheapest hockey cards we can find and appreciate them for their informational, aesthetic, nostalgic, and nutritional value. Certainly not for their financial value. So those of you out there who are sports cards investors, you risk being bitterly disappointed by this video. But all the rest of you, not to worry, because you stand an excellent chance of being bitterly disappointed by this video as well. Now today, we have the staple and linchpin of Canadian low-budget hockey card hunting, the pristine 12-card repack. These dollar store finds retail for $1.25 plus applicable taxes, thus putting the dollar in Dollarama. Mark, however, that Prestine's $2 surprise packs have now gone up to $3, so don't be surprised if you roll into Dollarama and those 12-card mystery packs are also more expensive than the price I quoted to you. Don't we all love inflation? Now, if you're new to hockey card collecting, you should get out now while you still can, but of course stay to the end of this video regardless. And if you're still with me, you may be wondering what a repack is. In a regular pack, you're going to get a bunch of cards from the same set. In a repack, you're going to get a mix of cards from different sets, because in a repack, someone else has already opened a bunch of original packs, maybe bought some other people's collections as well, and then put everything together in a series of repacks. Now, the upside of a repack is you're going to see a lot more variety of cards. The downside of a repack, of course, is that someone else has already filtered and sifted through everything that's going into these packages, so you wouldn't generally expect to find anything of higher financial value in there. You don't go to a Van Halen dressing room expecting to find brown M&Ms, right? Right. I think that's enough talking. Let's dance the night away. So the first pack we have is kind of a trade deadline special, appropriately enough, with Jake Guentzel on the front, Ryan Johansson on the back. Let's snip it open and see what we got inside. The Guentzel is a bit dinged up in this one corner. Behind him we have 90-91 Pro Set, so we get right into it. You expect when you buy one of these, you're going to see a ton of 90-91 Pro Set, 90-91 score. Who's going to win out? Shane Churla, famous for being elbowed in the head by Pavel Bure in the 1994 playoffs. Curtis Lecision. Ken Danico, who until 2003, I believe, had played in every single playoff game in New Jersey Devil history. And I guess franchise history as well, because the Kansas City Scouts and the Colorado Rockies never made the playoffs. So that's almost 30 years of franchise history where Ken Danico was in every single playoff game. He won 3 cups with the Devils. He was there his whole career. Andre Burakovsky, certainly one of the league's better-looking players. Dennis Savard, a Hall of Famer, famous for the Savardian Spinorama, of course, although he was not the first Savard to do the Savardian Spinorama. Joonas Donskoi, who would join the Seattle Kraken soon after this card. Stu Barnes, very early in his career. He was a 1989 4th overall pick. Peter Zezel, a deceased player actually, and he had a fairly good career. He had a few 70-point seasons. You can see a couple of those 70-point seasons on the back of this card. He traveled a lot as well, played for a bunch of different teams. Scott Stevens, a Hall of Famer. Here he is with the St. Louis Blues. Of course, he was only with the St. Louis Blues for one season. He was signed as a free agent by the St. Louis Blues from the Washington Capitals, and the Washington Capitals got 4 first-round draft picks as compensation for that signing. The next year, St. Louis signed Brendan Shanahan from the New Jersey Devils. They had no more first-round draft picks to give out, so Scott Stevens was awarded to the New Jersey Devils as compensation. And that's how he ended up in New Jersey, which was good for him. He, with our buddy Ken Danico, was also there for 3 Stanley Cups in New Jersey. And continuing with the Hall of Fame defensemen, we have Ray Bourque. Finally, we have Ryan Johansson, now a Philadelphia Flyer, although I don't know if he's actually going to play with the Flyers. They sent him to the minors. this first goal card. I also wonder if he scored his last goal in the NHL. I hope not, but he does have another year on his contract that people are probably not going to want to pick up this offseason. Also note that this is actually an insert card from 2012-13 Score. It's a pretty nice card. Pretty cool to get that. Of course, 2012-2013 Score may be the most printed set of the 2010s, as in overprinted. So it's maybe not a surprise to see that insert here. Now, I did clip my fingernails before making this video. That's just a side note. Hopefully the actual hockey card content is more interesting. This next pack, we have a couple first rounders who have athletic dads. Seth Jones, his dad is Popeye Jones, who played in the NBA, notably for the Denver Nuggets. It was while he was there that Seth and his brother Caleb got exposed to hockey, getting to spend some time around some of the strong Colorado Avalanche teams of the early mid-2000s, Joe Sakic, Patty Waugh, and all the like. On the back side, we have Logan Brown. He is the son of Jeff Brown, kind of an underrated offensive defenseman in the NHL. Jeff had 20-goal seasons with the Quebec Nordiques and the St. Louis Blues, and he was a part of the Vancouver Canucks during their 1994 Stanley Cup final run. You'll note that Logan Brown is also in a St. Louis Blues uniform here, so wearing a jersey that his dad wore. As far as I know, Popeye Jones, however, never played for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Let's take a look and see what's inside. So we already know about our buddy Seth Jones here. He, of course, is now with the Chicago Blackhawks. Frederick Olesen, who is kind of an underrated defenseman during a good bulk of the 90s. Matt Duchene, looking very happy. Obviously, this is before being bought out by the Nashville Predators. Mark Messier, 1990-91 Pro Set again. So Pro Set is out-dueling 90-91 Score so far. Yuri Khmylev behind there. Leaf, 93-94, Evgeny Davidov. And something interesting about Davidov's rookie year that you can probably a little bit see on the back of the card here. He was one of 4 Winnipeg Jet rookies to score 20 goals in that season. Can you name the others? They were Keith Tkachuk, Alexei Zhamnov, and of course Teemu Selanne, who scored a ridiculous 76 goals in his rookie season. That's one record that I expect will never be broken. 93-94 Leaf, by the way, is noteworthy for the back of its cards being better known than the front of the cards because of the local landmarks used. I don't know what landmark this is in Winnipeg, but it's something in Winnipeg, that's for sure. Stéphane Richer behind. He is a 2-time 50-goal scorer, 400-goal scorer on his career. 2-time Stanley Cup champion, one of those forgotten guys who had a pretty good career and may have been, or almost certainly would have been better if he wasn't struggling with mental health issues for a lot of his career. But regardless, still a very solid career. Sidney Crosby, Sid the Kid, not so much a kid anymore, but still Sid. Dave Tippett, this is before his coaching days, but notably he always had that famous mustache. We can probably see it better on the back of this card. Let's get a close in on that mustache. After that, we have Yuri Khmylev again, so that's a double Yuri Khmylev in one pack. Now, Yuri Khmylev only played 4 full seasons and a bit, split between Buffalo and the St. Louis Blues, but it's a case where his career could have probably been a little bit more because his first 2 seasons were the best 2 seasons of his career. He scored 20 goals in each of those seasons, as you can see from the back of this card. But what you might also see on the card is his birth date, which is in 1964. He didn't play his first NHL season until 92-93 at the age of 28, so he obviously missed quite a few years of potential NHL play because he was in the Soviet Union and then Russia. Would he maybe have come over earlier if circumstances had been a bit different? It's certainly possible, and I don't think he would have been a superstar, but we might be talking about a few more 20-goal seasons to his credit, and he might be known a bit more than he is now as just a guy who scored about 60 goals for his entire career. Daniel Merois, he was kind of a one-hit wonder. He had a big 39-goal season playing alongside Vincent Damphousse and then never really reached those levels again. This is actually the season after that big year. So he really had a big drop off after that year and was pretty much out of the league within a couple seasons after this. And finally we finish with Logan Brown, who we saw before. The final pack that we have, I don't have a cutesy theme for this one, but it's Blake Wheeler backed with Dennis Seidenberg. If I ever make a list of the top 10 players from Germany, and that is certainly one of the great ambitions of my life, there is a good chance that Dennis Seidenberg would be on there. You can also see in the background that there is a ton of Dollarama packs that I have, both the surprise bags and more of these $1.25 packs. Those have been accumulated over the years when I was too camera shy to get this channel launched, but they will certainly be opened along with a lot of other stuff in coming videos, so make sure that you're subscribed to see Dollarama openings, other pack openings, mystery packs, blaster boxes, maybe even some miscellaneous and etc. Here we start off this pack with Blake Wheeler and a Metal Universe card. Colby Armstrong, who kind of started off his career nicely, getting to play alongside Sidney Crosby, and has gone on to be a bit of a Sportsnet personality afterwards. Patrick Flatley, he had a fairly good long career. Larry Robinson had a very long career in the NHL. Won quite a few Stanley Cups with the Montreal Canadiens, I would say 6, and is a Hall of Famer. Behind him, we have his then teammate, Kelly Rudy, who of course is also a famous television personality now. Dino Ciccarelli, hat tricks. I have pulled this specific card from Dollarama repacks almost every time I've opened a set of them. I'm not complaining because I like Dino. Great Italian name. Stay tuned for when I do a list on the top 10 Italian names of all time in the NHL. And I also like this insert set from 90-91 Bowman. Very simple, just players who got hat tricks either during the playoffs or multiple hat tricks during the NHL season. Nice little kind of Dick Tracy hat there. Is that like the Curious George guy's hat? A nice hat regardless. Classier hat than you usually see get tossed on the ice. Jean-Sébastien Giguère, about to go into his 2003 Stanley Cup playoff run. He would win the Conn Smythe that year, but it wouldn't be till 2007 where he would actually backstop the team to a cup win. Todd Krieger, and another 92-93 score, Gary Nyland. I actually like the look of this year's score quite a bit. I like this, I don't know what you would call it, like a steel blue background, kind of a turquoisey. It's very clean. I like it a lot. The back is nice too. It's a classy use of gradients. We all know there were some very tacky uses of gradients in the 90s, but that is not one of them. Continuing on with cheap 90s cards, Alain Cote. I couldn't tell you a thing about him. I guess I've got to read the back of his card later. And Uwe Krupp. So we've got two great German players back to back. Certainly two of the best German defenders of all time for what that's worth. What a way to close our pack. But, of course, that's not all, because we have to choose the Dollarama All-Star-ama. Now, the Dollarama All-Star-ama, as you may have guessed, is when we make an all-star team out of the best players and cards that we got out of today's packs. So we start off on the wings with Andrei Burakovsky at left and Blake Wheeler at right. Of note, Dino Ciccarelli was disqualified from participation because the card we pulled of him does not list his position anywhere on the card, and that is a requirement, a little known rule. Another little known rule is that we always give preference to any inserts we pull, which is why you see Ryan Johansson at center and not Sidney Crosby. So apologies, Sid, but you have been on a lot of all-star teams in your lifetime. And someone who's been on a ton of all-star teams in their lifetime is, of course, Ray Bourque. He's here with a bit of a ugly black trim on the borders. That's atrocious, but as atrocious as that is, Ray Bourque's career was fantastic. We're going with Larry Robinson, a little bit of a booyah for those of you who may have expected Scott Stevens. And finally, backstopping the team is J.S. Giguère, who beat out Kelly Rudy, the only other goalie we pulled for that final spot on the All-Star team. But of course, the real All-Star is you for having stuck with me through this entire first video. I really appreciate you watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time and seeing if I can come up with an even cornier conclusion than this one.